how you experience physical pain as bliss. Same principle. So I become really clear. I become really clear on, and this is a good example because in the past month or so, I've been 50-50 experiencing constant pain physically. So the same principle applies. You relax. And first you let that stream of definitions, stream of thoughts, stream of concepts pass through. Old definitions, conditioned interpretations of what it means. And one thing to realize when it comes to physical pain, and this applies to pretty much anything, but especially physical pain, what becomes really acutely noticeable, is that why it triggers this suffering, the psychological suffering, the closing down, is not so much because of the physical pain, but because of the meaning we've given the physical pain, which means this could imply I'm being hurt. This could imply my vehicle's being damaged. This could imply that I might die. This could imply that this thing might kill me. Even if we rationally can see, well, this is not going to kill me. It's not going to do any permanent damage. It's just hurting right now. Even if we logically see that, there's a very instinctual, survival, animalistic, not bad, just animalistic, side to our conditioning or side to our mind portion that flares up when the physical body is involved. Does that make sense? Because what gets triggered is this sense or this need for survival. And so oftentimes physical pain is immediately, no matter how light or simple it is, it's immediately equated to the fear of death. Very quickly that starts to rise. Even again, if logically you can see you just, bumped your toe into something and you're not going to die from it. Even if you see that mentally, like consciously, there's usually a portion to our consciousness which flares up instinctually and makes it a bigger deal than it is, makes it fear-based. So that's one thing to realize when you're dealing with physical pain, is to sort of start to see very clearly that the meanings you've given to the sensations is what causes the psychological suffering of it. It's not actually the physical pain that causes the psychological suffering. It's what we think it means. It's what we think it implies. Another one example is maybe you don't believe that it will kill you, but maybe you believe, oh, what if this continues forever and ever? In other words, it takes away my freedom. It will give me a lack of freedom. It will give me a lack of experiencing myself in a pleasurable, enjoyable way. It's another example. So just start seeing those ideas about the physical pain while you remain present to what is there. Just as an anchor point, you can use the pain. So stay present to the pain, like really enter it for a moment. I'm not saying to keep doing this forever, but for this purpose of exploring this and separating out your fear beliefs, stay with the physical sensation and really explore it. Like, what is it? Where is it? Can I find it? Really try to locate it in your consciousness. And the more you do it, the more it tends to actually soften. There may be a short period where it intensifies, but the more you actually enter into it, and you can't find an exact location to it, except when you think about it. When you think about it, you can say, oh yeah, it's in my whatever, it's in my right leg. But when you actually enter it, you can't find the right leg, and you can't say for sure where it is. So the more profoundly you enter the pain sensation or appearance with your consciousness, the more the pain, location, density, physicality of it actually disappears, which can actually lead into the symptoms or the feeling of pain being diminished or even disappearing altogether, depending on what's relevant for you. So, but when you stay with that pain experience, when you really tune into that, then you'll see that there's reactions that come up. There's mental reactions. There's fears that come up, belief systems. So just observe these and see that they actually have nothing to do with the appearance, the sensation. The sensation and the fear beliefs are not the same thing. Those are your beliefs about what that pain could mean. And when you become really clear on that, and you can see that none of these beliefs actually apply to the actual thing, that none of them are true, essentially speaking, you can relax. And your psychological suffering of the physical pain will start to decrease, and even disappear. And your story of being a victim of it or complaining about it will disappear and disappear and disappear. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question? Okay.
How to get to bliss from that?
Okay, okay, right. Well, that's one way into bliss.
With the pain. Experiencing bliss.
With or without the pain. It can be through the pain if the pain disappears. Don't insist that you should experience the bliss with the pain, right? But if it remains, then that's fine. So the bliss would come when you, it can either come through simply realizing the space itself, like realizing the spaciousness of your attention and your consciousness, the freedom of that, while you're observing the pain, and it being clear of those beliefs after you let them run through. So it clarifies itself. It's like a puddle of water that's not being touched for a while, not being stirred up. So the dirt settles to the bottom and the water becomes clear, right? Similarly, when you let all your beliefs about a certain appearance, and this can be any appearance, doesn't have to be physical pain. The same mechanism applies to any other scenario in your life. When you let these ideas pass through, express themselves, explode, and then disappear, then what you're left with is the clarity of this moment. Can you sense into that? And then that clarity itself is bliss, because existence is clarity itself, it's space itself, it's bliss. So in that sense, you can tap into it. Another way to tap into it is to see or to confirm. Again, it's that sort of awesomeness idea that I spoke about yesterday, that superhero idea, that transcendence idea, that whenever something resembles to us, that we're actually doing profoundly well or good, or that we are make amazing progress or whatever, we tend to feel blissful. Why? Because these sort of ideas get close to the idea of what bliss actually is, which is formless, transcendent, free, unaffected, etc. So whenever we have an experience that confirms our unaffected nature, we tend to get a dose of that experience, of that bliss access. So another way to have that when you're observing the pain is by noticing your increased or enhanced ability to actually very clearly observe the pain as well as the non-existence of the pain. Meaning that you can really find a location to it. You can really find what it is. So for your ability to go from, oh, I don't want to look at that, it's frightening, and it means that I'm being hurt and that I could die, and poor old me, to actually being able to hold a very clear, pristine consciousness with the sensation, and even enter the sensation and realize its emptiness, that's confirming of your transcendence. Does that make sense? That is like a little reward, like a little achievement. Like, wow, I can actually do this. And again, anything that confirms that we can do or be more than we thought we could do or be, expands us and makes us experience bliss. It's an entrance point into bliss. So in a sense, those two main ways when it comes to physical pain. A, to just actually rest in the space, which is bliss. And B, to actually see and confirm our enhanced ability, our enhanced courage, and our increased capacity to be able to do something we didn't thought we could do before. To hold the space for that, and to actually not experience psychological suffering anymore regarding the pain. That's a great thing. That's a very transcendent quality. That's not very human condition based. Does that make sense? So you gain more confidence in your amazingness. You gain more confidence in your freedom, in your infinite potential.
Would you say disidentifying from the pain?
Disidentifying from the pain, which, yes, in a sense. What do you mean by disidentifying?
It's not who I am on.
Yes. Great. Okay. Which doesn't necessarily mean you need to push it away, right? That's a different thing. Okay. Good.
Observing it.
Observing it, yeah. Or not. Doesn't also mean that you have to stay with it, but it simply means that you're not pushing it away. You can choose to move your attention when it feels natural to do so in a different direction or onto a different subject or topic, but you don't need to push it away. And yes, to disidentify from the pain, if you're even identified to begin with, is a very helpful thing. So to disidentify your story of who am I and what is the pain, and that to see that these two are not the same thing, is very helpful. So pain can definitely be an entrance point into bliss. I've experienced it many times.